Welcome back to Let's Discuss Cafe. In this second part of our series with Richa Bharadwaj, the Legal Counsel at Deep LogicTech India Pvt. Limited, we are set to explore the future of legal tech industry. Richa will share her initial impressions on the potential of generative AI in legal practices. She will also discuss its role in corporate legal departments and speculate on the regulatory frameworks for emerging technologies. Plus, stay tuned for some light-hearted moments in rapid-fire round with Richa. Get ready for another round of valuable insights and engaging anecdotes. Richa, welcome again. Thanks for agreeing to appear on the second part of the podcast.
Thank you.
In the last episode, you were talking about legal research, right? And you also mentioned it can be one of your forte, right? So what are the practical tips and tricks that you would like to share with our younger audience?
First and foremost, so one should not only go on the case notes. Right. Once you're watching, only don't fully rely on the case notes. If you find relevant judgment, always keep a very wider search level. That way you find cases which are for you and for against you also. Because it's a very good practice to know what is for and against the motion always. Because even once you're doing your research and you know what the other person is also, what the other party might also use, it always gives you an advantage to think faster before the court. Because court also might send you ugly on your way. If you've cast a wider net while researching, you can dodge a lot of questions very efficiently. Second, when you read the judgment, just don't read the case notes. Read the entire judgment from the first page where it gives the name of the judges till the last where it says held so and so. Because it gives you, when the other party will be chance of rebuttal, when both the parties are doing a rebuttal, they would always dissect your judgment on the basis of what happened actually and what was the basic issue and how it happened. So if you would also know whether it's a good judgment for you or not, because sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish between what is the obiter and what is the status of the judgment. If it's not working as a precedent for you, then you should know why it is not working. Also, while you're doing that, you will also find other judgments which are referred within the judgment. So you should do that. Once you've done that, you should also go and see whether that judgment has gone for appeal on the higher levels or not. If it has not, then you should tell the judge always in advance. If it's not a Supreme Court judgment, if it is a High Court level judgment, should always tell the judge that you researched, you could not find it. Or if it has been upheld or struck down, then you should always tell that to the judge also. Because that, what happens is, when a judge, you're speaking to the judge, you're also creating a connection with the judge. And credibility can take you very far. Apart from your knowledge, and credibility takes you very far because the judge knows what you're speaking is coming from a place of truth. You're not just speaking in the air. So that, in the longer run in your career, helps you a lot. So if you've done that, it creates a good impression in front of the judge, always. And knowledge is never harmful.
Completely agree with your last statement, right? And, see, that's why legal research is so hard, the things that you mentioned. Have you used any AI tools recently which has made your job a little easier?
Yeah, I did. But at the same time, I also attended a conference which told me, I'll give you the whole story.
Right.
I was using ChatGPT to research on a particular matter. So on a legal proposition, because there's a choice of law. So I told ChatGPT that if they know any cases, and when you talk to ChatGPT, they always tell you, now I have a data till this date. So I can only tell you till that date. So they gave me a judgment. Now, being a lawyer, I went and took the name of the case law and pasted on Google and asked for a judgment. Right. And I know that, the judgment is authentic or not. But that was only one thing that I did out of my own curiosity because I wanted to read the judgment. I didn't just want to rely on what ChatGPT said. Then on a similar case, I was attending a conference where I got to know a lawyer used ChatGPT and ChatGPT, maybe ChatGPT or some other generative AI. They give such an impressive cases that they utilize the cases. Later on, it was found that everything was fabricated by the generative AI. And the lawyer had to bear the consequences because of that. His license was suspended or bowed.
That's a true story, actually.
That's a true story. Later, I Googled it also and found it was a true story. But at the same time, it poses a question in front of us that you can use AI to help you, but you should always cross-check the information. You should not trust blindly because you don't know what is the data center or data set of teaching that knowledge. The creators also don't know what rationale it's using and what algorithm it's going to generate while giving you the results.
Right. That's very true. And I have the technical term for fabrication is hallucination. When the AI thinks it knows something, but it doesn't actually, right? So that's the term hallucination is there. And a lot of people from non-technical kind of look it as a negative thing. But since I've spent a lot of time with data science team, I'll tell you, hallucination is the intrinsic part of large language models, because essentially what we are born the days where everything is predictable, right? So if you build a system, if I give this kind of an input, it's going to give me this kind of an output, right? And that's not how humans and, human response kind of behaves, right? So when we are trying to mimic human behavior, we have to let go of certain things, and certain limited number of hallucinations will be there, right? Part of the system. It's not a bad thing which can be, reduced. So, yeah.
At the same time, humans which created the machines are also creative at the same time. We all exaggerate to a certain level. Nobody speaks the absolute truth. We all exaggerate. So when machine is exaggerating, maybe we should just take it with a pinch of salt, but be mindful of it also.
Absolutely. And I felt really bad for this. And, that's one of the reasons I started my current venture, is that I felt that, nobody should be debarred for using an AI tool, right? So my mission was that I want to create an AI tool which is safe enough for the legal professionals. Because we understand that legal profession is a very unique profession. The level of responsibility these guys have is humongous, right? It's very different from marketing professionals or product development or software engineers. Other than, I think, medical professionals, I see no other profession which bears as much responsibility as the legal profession, right? So my idea was creating a tool which doesn't let legal professionals get disbarred using an AI tool, right? So that was my intrinsic motivation. Let's see how things pan out. So you brought in the concept of AI, right? So any other use cases of AI that you see, especially in corporate legal departments?
There are lots. Like once, if you, it can help you in generating clauses, which are very effective. You have to tell it, but obviously you can't cut, copy, paste it. You have to read, understand what is written. But then it makes, sometimes it makes a very difficult job very easier, but because if you have to write sometimes yourself, you might forget some words or you might not think of another aspect. So if you give it a subjective case, then you give it your requirement and you ask it to generate a clause, it helps. Then it helps in generating a lot of other things, like sometimes we don't have templates for certain things.
Right.
Sometimes there is no understanding of those certain things, and the other teams are so busy that they would just rely on you to give up at least a basic working model.
Right.
You can take advantage of a sample, or if you don't have a sample, at least you explain what it is, and then it gives you a working model for you to fill it. So we've used it, we've done it sometimes, and it helps. Also, I have heard a lot of lawyers. I don't do that because I prefer my drafts very authentic. So I heard a lot of lawyers who have drafted also very patent applications and Supreme Court petitions and SLPs also using generative AI. And I think it might be a good idea to do it. But at the same time, I would suggest that you should be very authentic in your drafts. Right. Maybe the AI can help reduce your typing. But at the same time, the analysis that you can do of a legal concept or of a factual concept is very important, which the two should be collaborative or one complementing the other, but it cannot be self-reliant totally. You can't just copy-paste.
Absolutely. See, the thing is, I say that, the more powerful a tool is, the more dangerous it becomes, right? If I
Exactly.
give you a very dull knife, right? You won't be able to cut it, a lot of stuff with it. You won't be able to cut a lot of stuff with it. But if I give you a very sharp knife, like you can use it in a number of ways. But at the same time, right, the sharper the knife is, the more careful you have to be as a user. So
Exactly.
AI is a powerful tool, and that's why we have to be more careful with it, right? So that's what I understand. And yeah, drafting is definitely one of the best use case. Other than, have you thought about using contract review? So a lot of our podcast guests have said, right, so what happens if you're working as an in-house counsel, you have a base template, right? But what's going to happen is that the client that you are interacting with, or the vendor that you are interacting with, depending upon your bargaining power, either they will give you a red line version of the template you have chosen, or they will give you a completely new draft, right? So basically,
Yeah, it works on that. Sometimes people are very smart. They redline the document and it's sent for signatures, but you're not told that there is a red line, or the red line is not highlighted. So before the final signature, we used to read the draft, or there used to be a compare option in Microsoft Word.
right.
So, but now if you tell the AI to do that, it does, and it does a good job of it also. It gives you comparison also, it gives you a review also. And I've read a lot about this, and people have said that they have also asked AI to analyze the contract if you're running short of time. So you can read the analysis, and maybe you can get a bird's eye view of what's happening, and it maybe could have done a better job than you.
Right.
Know what's happening.
Right.
Because it's not making mistakes. It's not making human errors.
Right. So obviously, right. Sometimes it is because it's going to act like more and more human, but the chances are definitely lesser, and especially in the longer contracts. Like I've seen a couple of project finance or infrastructure contracts which runs in like 150 pages, and then you have like technical specifications attached with it, which lawyers are completely oblivious about, right? So in those cases, AI can do a tremendous job. Do you have any experience with like using AI tools for compliance? No worries there. So, right. So moving on to the next question, right? You already spoke about the EU AI Act and the pros and cons attached with it. So if you had a crystal ball that would provide glimpses into the future of regulatory frameworks, what trends and challenges do you think would stand out?
I'm assuming that like right now we're only discussing the pros and cons of ChatGPT or generative AI, but I believe it will go on to a level where not only it will be more advanced, it will make a lot of other jobs which are we just discussing about. It will increase productivity, it will increase analysis, but at the same time, we have to create a balance between the regulation and control. How much of it is regulated, how much of it is not? Because right now there are a lot of domains which are unregulated, or there is a reliance on self-regulation. So, but at the same time, I think from self-regulation they should go on to a basic idea of what needs to be regulated, and self-regulation should have a basic idea of outline on what is to be regulated, and the law should be more progressive. There should be more progression in law.
Wow. Great insights there. So as you're working in a tech company and you are, obviously, as you said, that you're attending conferences, is there a general mandate coming in on how to make sure that, our company is using AI in a compliant and ethical manner? What is the general consensus around this topic?
So general consensus around this topic is that one should, at the grassroots level, we should put the data sets or the data centers around AI, which are not biased, which are more neutral in not only the generic terms like gender, races, and other things, but also neutral in a lot of senses. Right. So you have to what is your data sets that you're feeding to the AI are very important. You have to be very regulative about that. Very regulative, balanced, and very mindful of what is going there. Because what is AI is going to generate, you can't predict it. Right. It can create something which is totally beyond your prediction. So, because you're more focused on result, you should be also more focused on what is the raw material that is being fed in that machine. Right. Machine is doing what is being fed into it. It's not doing anything on its own.
Right.
So that one has to be very mindful of.
Well,
and a lot of chatter around this. It's not. It's only not small companies, big companies. There's a lot of chatter around it that this is one of the most important things that needs to be done.
Absolutely. So, you spoke about biases, right? And, the problem that I'm seeing between the people who are hiring the AI technology or who are availing the services of AI and the people who are providing it, right? Now, as an AI provider, they never want to share their data set because that's one of their closely guarded secrets, right?
Exactly.
Right. Because if I share the algorithm and the data set, right, anybody can replicate me, right? So how do I give assurance, right? And now there are so many companies, almost every enterprise and entrepreneur I'm speaking to are using 2 or 3 AI tools on a daily basis, right? And now a regulation in the EU has come in, especially other countries will follow this suit. How will they make sure, right, that the ChatGPT everybody is using? How do you know that ChatGPT data is not biased? Because they have never revealed what data sources they have trained their model on. So what should the companies do in this case? How they can prepare?
See, companies can prepare on a level, but there is no, in absence of a direct mandate from the governments or electors, there is no mandate for them to share, as you rightly said. So once that mandate comes in, at least in a commercial setting, see, ChatGPT is a public tool also, it is a commercial tool also, right? So at least in a commercial setting, when one person is taking data sets from others, you can, while you protect it's an IP, right? While you protect your IP, you also, in a contractual level, first you need to, if there is a mandate, that's a good thing. In absence of a mandate, I think we should come up with legal clauses which protect bypassing or replicating or reproducing. Like in IP, we always create a contract clause which says you cannot replicate through the byproduct, you cannot reproduce the whole system. In a similar way, if the other company is sharing that can come as a confidential and proprietary information, and it gets protected through that, and it says that you cannot use it. So long in your commercial setting, you cannot replicate it. And for a given number of years, you cannot replicate it. If you say like in NDAs, we go for 2 years, you say for 2 years, you cannot replicate this model or you cannot go and disclose it to the other party.
Right.
To change vendors. If you can't, then at least on a personal and a commercial setting, we can understand what data sets were set out, what were fed into the machine, which brought so much results.
Right.
Because I don't understand when the mandate will come. Because there is, on the higher levels, all the companies are talking about this, but on a higher level, no government is talking about it.
Well said there, Richa. And one of the interesting analogy that I like to draw is how we tackle GDPR, right? So if I look at how the GDPR was tackled, what I see very closely is that it's not just the responsibility of the legal department to enforce GDPR, right? The CTO or the tech team is very closely associated with how GDPR is being implemented within an organization, right? Yes. So do you see that kind of trend being followed for AI technologies as well? Because a lot of lawyers doesn't even understand what is a biased data set is. How would they understand, right, whether the data set is biased or not? And what are the matrices they should be careful about?
See, there's 2 things to it. Either they self-learn it, or company either makes it mandatory, or before entering into such transactions, all the stakeholders, including the legal departments, because usually the trend is, and unfortunately, I used to think that it happens in one or two companies, but it happens overall. It happens with all the big companies also and the small companies also. They don't want to come to the legal departments because they think the legal departments are creating issues. Because the legal department will pose problems. But the thing is that legal departments wants to ensure that problems don't happen in future. So first, departments should collaborate. The tech team should sit down with the legal teams or the sales team and all the other teams which are stakeholders in those conversations. And they should exchange what is the idea, what is the information, what is the background of the whole thing. Like legal department is not understanding the technology and what is the biased data set. There are tech teams which are not
understanding the legal provisions.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. They don't understand that, why are they saying that, you can't work with non-compete. They don't understand what is non-compete. Like we are talking non-compete as if it's like, this is a very generic word. For them, it's not a generic word.
Right. Absolutely. And see, this is the problem that even we face, right? So we have this rule is that, you can get your email rephrased or redrafted using AI. Make sure that you are not mentioning the name or anything that can personally identify the person we are speaking to, right? And a lot of people in the sales teams make this rule, and it's like, it's what is the point? Like, we are just using the first name, or n number of excuses, n number of things that they share that that this is a sage provision. So right now, when we are saying that we are not sharing personal identifiable information with any third party, right? We have to implement that by making sure that we are not sharing that with a random chat GPT or random third-party large language model, right? So this is the provision that, so what can companies do immediately, right? Right now, obviously, we know the AI law is coming in. EU has already said, EU has already passed it, and more countries will definitely follow suit. So what should companies do immediately?
Companies can create white papers.
Right.
Can create PPTs. It can create some material around. Obviously, they can use machines now to create those materials faster. And that material can be circulated within the company through all departments for a reading. They can have some session, maybe on a weekly basis, on understanding on what things they are involved in with the stakeholders. And they can give a bird's eye view to the stakeholders so that they can understand on the ground level that what's happening. And they can think ahead that, these can be the problems which we can face. And, so when the actual deals are happening, the process is more smoother.
Absolutely. Very well said. And, one advice that I'll give is that don't stop your employees from using ChatGPT. Don't give a blanket ban on that because it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
We have seen this in a couple of organizations I was consulting with, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. So you can't stop people from using technology. The only way forward is to enable them, is to train them how to use it in a safe manner, in a legally compliant manner, which doesn't result in repercussions.
Absolutely.
The company, right? That would be my advice to people. Right. So now this is again the rapid fire round time. So let's start the rapid fire. I'll let the public decide whether you have won the rapid fire or not. If they think you have won the rapid fire, they should go out, they should go and post that in the comments. So yeah, my first question is, if you could be superhero, which one you would be and what would be your superpower?
So I would like to be Spider-Man. Yeah, but only with an extra superpower of reading minds.
Why is that? Why do you want to read minds?
I'm always fascinated with what is going on other people's minds.
Okay. So the second question is, do you think being a lawyer and being an ex-litigator gives you a slight edge to win arguments in your personal life?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yeah, but now my son is a product of two litigators, and he trumps us.
So yeah, definitely. That's very interesting. So the next rapid fire question is, what's the most bizarre object that you have ever received as a professional gift?
Pen. To give you a pen for some reason. And the worst point is that sometimes they are so pretty that you don't want to write with it, or you're afraid of losing it. And now everybody wants to carry an iPad or something, or they want to type. So pens are becoming so obsolete these days.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the nice things that I used to get is that they give you pen along with the stylus that you can use it on iPhones or tablets. So
Okay.
that's how they're making things relevant.
Okay.
Now the next question is, what's the weirdest law you have ever come across in your readings?
I have yet to come across it. I have not come across it till now.
Right. Yeah. One of the weirdest law that I ever came across was that in the UK, you can't blow the dust off your carpet after 5 p.m. So they have this...
that way, I find a lot of things in Germany very weird. Like, you cannot make noise. If beyond a certain time, even the kids are making noise, people can call police on you. So I find this very weird because the one person who should be allowed to make noise are the kids, because otherwise what will they do? And with the houses getting smaller, the playgrounds are becoming obsolete. I think there's one thing that they should be allowed, because, they should not be burdened with what we have done.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you saw that movie, Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway?
Yeah, that was one weird thing. Very weird, because what was happening to them in Norway, I could not relate to them. Because in India, we do it all the time. Like, co-sleep with their parents is a norm. For parents to feed their kids is a norm. And if kids are not making noise, then who else is going to make noise?
Sure.
I think beyond 10 p.m. they cannot make noise. Beyond 11 p.m. Sundays the market are shut in Germany. So I was wondering, if Sundays market are shut, what are people in Delhi going to do if they go there? Because here half the crowd is out on streets on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a cultural shock. So yeah, this brings an end to the rapid fire round. Now, my last question is, what piece of advice would you give to young professionals who are aspiring to have a career like yours?
I think everybody would have a good career trajectory. No one career trajectory is different from the others, with the other person. At the same time, I would just implore them to read, be more open to what's happening, and explore law as much as possible. Go in areas, ask questions in areas which nobody has gone into, and study law like a history subject. Most of the people are not interested in history, but if you read the history of it, you understand where people are coming from and where we are going.
Yeah.
So it gives you a very interesting perspective on things.
Very wise words there, Richa. So Richa, thanks a lot for coming again. We really enjoyed the second episode as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Vash.
And that concludes our two-part series with the incredible Richa. From her expertise in the legal tech to her thoughtful advice for future lawyers, Richa has given us a lot to think about and aspire to be. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of legal counsel and technology. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review if you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for joining us on Let's Discuss Cafe, and we look forward to bringing you more enlightening conversations soon.